Welcome to Mathematical Concepts. In today's video, I'm going to introduce simultaneous equation. Right, this is the third chapter we are covering in Mathematical Concepts. We covered quadratic equation, we covered inequalities. Be sure to get those videos and look at them. There is a lot to learn and benefit. Now, without further waste of time, my name is Freddy, and simultaneous equations are one of the most simplest concepts to cover or to do or understand. Now, yes, having said that, there are a lot of people who struggle with simultaneous equation. They get confused by the fact that you are solving two equations at the same time, and not only that, you are solving for two variables at the same time as well. That confuses a lot of people. Now, in order for you to master your simultaneous equations, there is just few steps that you need to follow, and about 4 steps. If you make sure that you understand the 4 steps and then that you fixate on those 4 steps in that particular order that I'm going to give you, you will not go wrong with simultaneous equations. It's one of those areas that you are supposed to take away the marks for free. Now, walk with me. In simultaneous equation, you are solving 2 equations, and these 2 equations will have 2 variables, namely x and y. It could be any other 2 letters of alphabets, but then mostly it will be x and y, or b and z, c and d. It can be any, but then you will have 2 variables that you need to solve. 2 variables, okay? Either a or b, x or y, z and what, but 2 variables that you need to find the values for, okay? These 2 variables are often coordinates of a point, but we'll get to the coordinate of a point part in a different section. At this section, just think of them as 2 variables. It's enough to think of them as 2 variables. Now, you are going to be given 2 equations. The first equation is going to have the x and the y. The second equation is going to be having the x and the y as well. If the variables is a and b, the first equation is going to have a and b. The second equation is also going to have a and b. Okay, before we get to this level, let's not jump ahead. Let's not skip the basics. As I always mention in my videos, the basics are the most important part of an introduction to any section in mathematics. Understand the introduction basics, you are sorted for life. If we solve 2 equations simultaneously, we are solving 2 equations simultaneously, meaning at the same time. We are looking for the ordered pair, the ordered pair. We are looking for the ordered pair which satisfies both equations at the same time. If we are solving 2 equations simultaneously, we are looking for the ordered pair which will satisfy both equations. Now, when we talk about ordered pair, I've mentioned that there is what we call coordinates of a point, which is x is to y. We will cover this section in a relevant section. Do not worry yourself with this. I'm only explaining this for the purpose of making you understand an ordered pair. So an ordered pair simply means if x is so and so, then y is so and so. X can have 3 values, can have 2, 7, 6, or 5 values, or 2 values, or whatever number of values. Then y will have a corresponding value for that. Okay, will have a corresponding value for that. But when we say an ordered pair, we are saying when x is 2, y is 1. We are not saying that x cannot be 7, but when x is 7, y is not 1, but it's 3. When x is 6, y is a negative 3. So they are a pair. They go together. They are friends. If we put x to be this, y will be that. If we change x to be this, then y will be the other. Okay, but the pair are together. Okay, all right. You should understand this when we approach straight line graphs, parabola and hyperbola graphs, functions. It's called functions, the chapter. We'll get to it. Okay, now back to simultaneous equations. All right, very important. Understand we're solving 2 equations and looking for the values of 2 variables, and the variables ordered pair values at the same time. Okay, only those 3. 2 equations, 2 variables, ordered pair of the variables. Okay, all right. Now, for example, you're given y plus 4x is equals to 12, and they say solve for x and y given this and that. So the first equation, now we are coming to the steps that you follow. The first equation, we usually just mark it equation number 1. You will be given 2 equations. So we will label the first equation equation number 1. Very important to label this because you have 2. You need to know which one is equation number 1, which one is equation number 2. Then the second equation will be equation number 2. So that is the first thing that you do. You label the first equation that you are given as number 1 and the second as number 2. That should be simple enough. Okay, you are going to be given 2 equations, hence a simultaneous equation. You are going to be given 2 equations and you're going to be asked to solve for both x and y. Okay, you're going to be given 2 equations. You just label the first equation as equation 1 and you label the second equation as equation 2. Okay, make sure you understand those steps. That's step 1 and step number 2. You are done with 2 steps. You are left with 2 more steps now to ace your simultaneous equation. Now, pay close attention for step number 3. For step number 3, you are going to look for both. You're going to look at both equation 1 and 2 and look for which one is relatively simpler or less complicated, or which one is going to help me not have fractions. Avoid fractions when you can. So you're going to look for number 1, the simplest equation, or the less complex equation, or the equation that will not give you fractions. Okay, now in this example, equation 1 and equation 2, it is safe to say equation number 1 is the least complex. You see, it's the least complex. Not to say that this is not workable. You can start with the first equation. It is workable. You can start, we can start with the second equation. It's okay. You can start with the first equation. It's okay. But it's wise to start with to pick your equation that is less complicated. In this case, it's the first equation, equation number 1. Now, you are going to take that equation that you identified and you are going to make equation 3 from it. You labeled your first equation, you labeled your second equation, you look for the equation that is least complicated, that is not likely to give you fraction, and then and relatively simpler to work with, and then you make equation 3 out of it. Okay, so we have taken equation 1 and we have made y the subject of the formula. As you can see, y is equal to 12 minus 4x. We've taken 4x to the other side of the equation and the sign changes to negative, the other side of the equal sign of the equation, and then you have y is equal to 12 minus 4x, and we say this is our equation 3. Walk with me now, follow me. Okay, do not rush it. I acknowledge that simultaneous equation is the simplest section, it's 3 marks basically, but then if you rush it, you might get it wrong. So pay close attention, grab it. Okay, mark your prey, and when you grab it with both hands. You label your first equation is equation 1, you label your second equation is equation 2, you look for the least complex or complicated or relatively easy to work with, the one that is not going to give you fractions if possible, then you take it, you use it to make equation 3. When you make equation 3, you're going to make either x or y the subject of the formula. In this case, it's easier to make y the subject of the formula, since if you make x the subject of the formula, you're going to have to divide by 4. It is still doable. It is still doable. You can have y coming this side, and then you're dividing by 4, but then you're going to have x is equals to 12 over 4 minus y over 4. Okay, then you have a fraction. Okay, so we said we are avoiding to have fraction. Not to say that it is not solvable or doable with fraction. It is, but we just don't want to work out a lot than we necessarily have to. Time is limited in the final examination. Alright, now you labeled 1, you labeled 2, you make equation 3 out of the simplest one, and you make either x or y the subject of the formula. In this case, we made y the subject of the formula. Now you have your equation 3. Now, very important, you are going to substitute your equation 3 into the equation that you didn't use it to make it. Okay, this is what I mean. You have said from equation 1 that y is equal to 12 minus 4x, and you made that equation 3. Now, because you used equation 1 to make equation 3, you are going to substitute equation 3 into equation 2. You take this equation, you make equation 3. What you get, you substitute it in here. If you use equation 2 to make equation 3, what you get, you substitute it in equation 1. In this case, we used equation 1 to make equation 3. So the equation 3 value of y that we got, we are going to substitute it in equation 2. So place holding for y, wherever we see y, we're going to put this. If you take this back to the same equation that you made it from, you're going to get 0 on the left side, which is equal to 0 on the right. So please don't do that. Okay. Now, here we are. We are taking equation 2 and we are substituting equation 3 into it. So equation 3 says the value of y is 12 minus 4x. So here is our y. Instead of y, we put 12 minus 4x. Okay? And then I only put brackets to distinguish it. We have minus 4x squared plus 8x is equals to negative 3. We copied everything as it is. We just, in place of y, we put y is equals to 12 minus 3 from equation 3. So we have substituted equation 3 in equation 2. So we substituted equation 3 in equation 2. Usually they will write for you that from. They will either do 1 or they will say from 1, because we took it from 1. From equation 1, we can take 4x into that side, and then we have y is equals to 12 minus 4x. So we made that from 1. Now we are going to sub, since from 1 we made equation 3. Now we are going to sub equation 3 into, sub means substitute. We are going to substitute equation 3 in equation 2. So instead of y, we are going to put 12 minus 4x into equation 2. Okay. Now, this is it. And it has now become our equation 4. Okay. It has now become our equation 4. Make sure you walk with me, you understand, you follow. Okay, this is 3 marks, guys. Now that we have done that, what follows then is just to simply solve for x. Okay, so if you can see, you just solve for x now. Now you have minus 4x squared, here it is, plus 8x, here it is. And then because you're putting friends together, the minus 4x, you're going to put it next to a plus 8x. Okay. And then you have negative 3 on the side. And then you're going to take that 12 to this side, to its friend. And then you have minus 12 there. Because it was positive that side, it's coming negative this side. Okay. Now, when you simplify it further, then you have negative 4x squared. And then 8x minus 4x becomes positive 4x, which is equals to minus 3 minus 12, you get minus 15. Okay. Right, you have combined these two friends and these two friends. Okay. Now, from here, then you are going to factorize. All right. You're going to factorize. From here, you can divide, you can either go that way or this way. Some will just say, as it is here, you'll divide by 4. You can bring the 15 to the side and you'll have a positive 15, and then you have the equation in standard form, and then you have like here. And then you'll have your A as negative 4, your B as positive 4, and your C as 15, because it would have came to this side. And then you then come straight to the quadratic equation, which we did in quadratic equations. This is the quadratic formula, which we did in quadratic equations. And then you solve for your x, like that. Or you can divide by, if you divide by negative 4, you'll have a positive x squared minus x is equals to 15 divided by 4, which is going to be fractions and a bit complicated, but still doable. And then you identify your a as 1, your b as negative 1, your c as negative 15 over 4, because this is in standard form, and you plug it into your quadratic formula and you get your value of x. But then do not let what I just explained to you complicate or confuse you. Okay, so let's come back. When you go to the stage, right, you are now combining the friends, minus 4 and positive 8, and then you get positive 4x, and then 15, 12 minus 3 minus 12, negative 15 there. You brought it this side now. Okay, you brought it this side. At this stage, you can also take your A your B, your A as 4, your B as -4, and your C as -15, and go and plug it on the quadratic formula. Or you can just factorize. And if you factorize, you say factors of 4 is 1 times 4 and 2 times 2. Factors of x squared is x times x. Hence, we've decided to take 2 and 2 there, x and x there. We didn't just decide, because you need to look for the factors that works out, the ordered pair that satisfies both equations. So we don't just decide to take a number. And then the factors of 15, you have 1 times 15 and 3 times 5. So we put them there. Because you have a negative there, then you have to have a positive and a negative there. Okay, you look for the factors. I've taught how to factorize in quadratic equations. The first 5 videos that we took, please go look at them. Then you'll be able to sort this one out. And then you'll be able to say 2x minus 5 is equals to 0, or 2x plus 3 is equals to 0, and then x is equals to minus 3 over 2, and then eventually x is 1.5. Here, the same thing, x is a positive 2.5. Now, when you finally get the values of x in simultaneous equation, you are going to look for the ordered pair. You look for the ordered pair. This, you only found the values of x. You were asked to find the values of x and y. So when x is 2.5, what is the ordered pair of x as 2.5 for the value of y? What is the ordered pair? So then you say, okay, fine. Or when x is negative 1.5, what is y? When x is positive 2.5, what is y? You're going to come and say, okay, fine, I'm going to take the simplest equation, okay? And you, at this stage, you don't have to pick a equation in order. The order ends at equation number 4. When you find the value of x, or when you find the value of y, to look for the ordered value, you can pick any equation. And once again, it is best to pick the simplest equation, which is y is equal to 12 minus 4x. Okay, since we are looking for the value of x, so here it is, y is equal to 12 minus 4x. And then we're going to say, when x is 2.5, what is y? So instead of x, we're going to put 2.5 here, and then minus 4 times 2.5 is minus 10. And then y is equal to 12 minus 10, you get 2. So the ordered pair for x is equals to 2.5 will be 2. Okay, that will be the ordered pair. Okay, when x is 2.5, y is 2. And then the ordered pair for when x is minus 1.5. When x is minus 1.5, y is 18. How you find that out? The same way you find out this way. You take the same equation, y is equal to 12 minus 4x, and then you substitute x for 1, negative 1.5. And then negative 4 times negative 1.5 is a positive 6. Okay? And then 12 plus 6 is 18. And therefore, you're going to write your final answer like that as A, 2.5 is to 2, B, minus 1.5 is to 18. Like that. Simple like that. Okay? So this is how you deal with simultaneous equations. Please don't let it confuse you. What is the most important thing in simultaneous equation? A quick walkthrough is to do your equations in order. You only have 4 orders that you need to follow. The first thing, you're not sweating, you're just labeling. the first equation that they gave you, label it as equation 1. The second equation that they gave you, just label as equation 2. Okay, so there you're not computing anything, you're just labeling. So already you've covered 2 steps. The third step is the most important. The third and the fourth steps are the important steps. So it's only 2 steps basically that you need to understand what needs to be done. On the third step, you just identify the equation that is simple than the other, that is less complex or complicated than the other, that is easier to work with, and that doesn't give you fractions. And then you take that equation, you make your third equation for the third step. Okay, so step number 1, label as 1. Step number 2, label as 2. Step number 3, choose a simple equation. In our case, it's y plus 4x is equal to 12. We've taken that, so we made equation 3 out of equation 1. From equation 1, which is y plus 4x is equal to 12, we just take this 4x into the side, and then it becomes negative. We have y is equal to 12 minus 4x, and you label it as equation 3. Then you left with the last step. If you made equation 3 from equation 1, then you're going to substitute your value in equation 2. If you used equation 2 to make equation 3, then you're going to substitute back into equation 1. Don't let that confuse you. That is the key. Okay, those 2 are the key. That is your step 4. As you can see here, now that we have y is equal to 12 minus 4x as step 3, we are going to take this y and substitute. We're going to substitute equation 3 into equation 2 because we used equation 1 to make it. Now we're substituting it to here. Okay, so instead of y, we're going to put 12 minus 4x. So we copy the same equation 2 as it is, which is y minus 4x squared plus 8x is equals to negative 3. And this we mark it as equation 4. At this stage, you have won. If you understand step 1, 2, 3, 4, you have won your marks, okay? Because from step 4, basically what you're doing, you're just solving for x. All right, you're just solving for x. So you're going to mirror your terms. 8x is a friend of minus 8x. These 2, okay? And then your 12 is a friend of your 3. These 2. And then you simplify, and then you factorize. And then you get your values of x. If you started by making y the substitute formula, then you're looking for x. If you started by making x the substitute formula, then you're looking for y. So if you find the values of x, then you're now going to find the corresponding ordered pair. Okay, the ordered pair, and then you're going to take the simplest equation. In this case, you can take this or that. It doesn't matter at this stage. Once you find the value of x, whichever equation you take, it doesn't really matter as long as it has x and y. So you substitute your x values, and so you will find your value of y, simple like that. So when x is 2.5, what is y? It's 2. When x is minus 1.5, what is y? Is 18. Just like that, guys. Okay, I hope that I did not confuse people. I hope that instead I made it simpler. I hope that you find this helping, and I hope that it is helping. As always in our video, we introduce the topic and then we do the examples after. So in the next video, we're going to do the examples. So this is the introduction part. Then pay close attention, watch it, and make sure you understand. If you don't understand, please hit me back and let me know what I can assist you with. Maybe also watch the next video, because in the next video, we are going to be doing more than 3, if not 4 of this some of these examples. We are not going to be starting by the introduction and the whole mix up of things. We're just going to be doing the examples. and then add those examples. That is where you can see how you can possibly be tricked in the exam and how to get around a lot of these examples, and maybe certain steps that I've mentioned here will basically actually stick when we do the examples. Okay, so it's very important to watch the examples. As I always say, when you learn each and any chapter in mathematics, it's only three things. The first thing is the introduction that you must spend more time on, and then the second thing is the examples that make some of the introduction stick for you, and then the third thing is the exercises that train you. The training in mathematics is actually the exercises. Then when you've successfully done the exercises on your own by yourself, and you got the challenges and then you got them solved, then you are a trained soldier in that particular concept. Okay, thank you so much guys for watching, and you can support me by hitting a like button there and subscribing. Thank you so much.